All right, to close up, this is how we always close in a circle and how we share thoughts and stuff. Our highs and lows, we'll get into that later, but I want to say a few words since this might be our last visit, right? And it was a really good visit with all of you. I'm glad you all came out for all three of them. Some of you just joined us today. I'm really happy there's a lot more new kids joining the center. I was only here for 8 hours and I got to know you really well.
You've been here 8 hours?
Most of you. We had 3 visits. I got to see you grow and work on some of the challenges that you had, you know, focus, teamwork, cooperation, participation, encouraging other people, being young role models to your little brother, to your friend, right? And working together. That's really inspiring to see from a group like you. I just want to say a few words before I close and turn it over to Willow and Ariel for our evaluation. I wanted to share a story with you. If you bear with me, to show some respect, I'm going to read it to you. I wrote it down. And it's a story that's really meaningful to me. When I grew up, when I was young, and you know, that got me through a lot of tough times. It's called Too Small for the World. It was a story about a little boy, about your age, and every day he watched his mother and father fight, argue, his brothers and sisters. He's always fought with them. He'd wake up in the morning, you know, to loud music vibrating off the floor because of parties. He'd find strangers in his house, getting up in the morning, going to school, and people he didn't know that were his parents, his friends. This was strange for him to see. And like any young kid, he didn't know how to react. He was too young. He didn't know whether he was supposed to be scared or frustrated. Instead, he was really, you know, confused. You know, being young, not knowing how to feel. And so what he did, he started hanging out late at night. And later, sometimes hanging out all night to sunrise. And his parents really didn't care either, so he constantly kept doing it. Then he started, you know, hanging out with friends. He met friends that were hanging out as late as he was. And of course he didn't want to go home because this was his sense of freedom. He could do whatever he wanted, you know. He could stay out late and it provided him a sense of peace, right? And that home wasn't starting to feel like home anymore. So his fun was happening outside of the household, away from his family. It was too loud for him, too crowded. And so as he was hanging out with his friends, it became tough on him. He noticed they started teasing him. They were a little older, but he hung out with them because he was accepted. At least he thought. Days went by, he kept doing it, he kept hanging out all night, and then they started teasing him and beating on him, beating him up, and they kept calling him always too small, too short, too skinny, right? So they looked down on him. They looked down on him because he was too short, too small, too skinny. And they teased him all the time. And he took it because he didn't want to go home. And this was more rewarding than being in home, not being able to sleep, and finding strangers in your house. And part of it, he thought that they were picking on him because he wasn't doing the stuff they were doing. Some of the stuff that he knew was bad, that was wrong. He was smart enough to know that. Drugs, alcohol, smoking, all that stuff. Violence, throwing rocks through windows. He didn't do any of that. So they started rejecting him, making fun of him, calling him too short, too small, too skinny. Too small for the world, they called him. Too small for the world. So, like any kid, you give in to pre-pressure. He gave in. He tried it. He tried all that stuff, thinking he was going to be accepted. He was wrong. They picked on him more. They teased him more. And he thought this was the way to be accepted, to find friends. They weren't his friends. He thought so, but they weren't. And so, it got harder. He was forced to turn away from that. He left his friends, but he didn't go home. He found his way down to a baseball field where a bunch of kids were playing. He started playing music. He started drawing. He started doing all the things to keep you busy and away from the negative stuff. He did that because it occupied him. He wasn't bored. He wasn't bored. So he found something that he was good at, that he was getting better at. And as days went by, years went by, he kept doing this. He got older. And he got better at sports. He was happier. He was healthier. He felt safe. He was able to return home with confidence and all that. And, once he was really older, after moving away, he returned back to his community. And he was a lot older. He did really well in sports. And he met these two friends that, these friends that he thought they were when he was kids. He met them again. And they go up to him and they say, "Can I have your autograph?" All happy to see him and stuff, right? And ironically, it was his first autograph request. So he signed it. And as he's signing it, he's sitting here and the guy is holding up this piece of paper, this guy. These two that he used to hang out with. And you notice something ironic. He was standing taller